yeah. Hey, everyone. This is Chris Keys4 from Your Guitar, hanging out at the NAMM show. And we are at our Amos era at the Darkglass booth. Amos, how you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great.
I'll give that tip to my wife because she's a big Taylor Swift fan. And what's your day job?
The touring bass player for Taylor Swift.
There you go.
You made me say it.
But I would never guess that you'd be wearing a Sepultura shirt.
I like to throw a curveball a little bit. I have, like a lot of professional musicians I know, I am a not-so-secret metalhead.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And so let's get into it. Darkglass being arbiters of nasty. So let's get into the bass tone. And what you got here is your brand new pedal.
Yeah, absolutely. I am super psyched to be releasing the Kaamos pedal with Darkglass. It's the result of about a year of collaboration that we did together. It's a really musical octave divider and drive pedal in a combination that can give you everything from the nastiness that you talked about to some great like funk, R&B, and pop tones. And it can get nasty. It can be subtle, like myself, and it's just really fun. It's really inviting, and it can be as complex or as straightforward as you want it to be.
Now, how did that relationship start with you and Darkglass? I'm sure, like any other artist, you probably started using their products, but then when did it go to the next level and they're like, let's work together on something specific to you and your sound?
Oh man, well, during the pandemic, Darkglass was extremely supportive of me when I started a YouTube channel of doing gear reviews, demos, and covers and stuff like that. So they basically sent me almost everything they make, like, here you go. So I really got to know their products in depth by way of reviewing them and trying to show like what they do well. And they do so many things so completely well. So when we decided to work together on a pedal, I'm like, this is an absolute no-brainer. Their build quality is great. You can tell by the logo they're a bass-first company. Not just a guitar pedal and here's a version for bass with a high-pass filter on it. Like they really think about the bass player first. And for me, like it's just trying to develop something that I wish was in the world that isn't. And there are octave pedals, there are drive pedals, or even combo pedals, but there are so many features on this that I think help it stand apart and can give a bass player access to some really like three-dimensional musical tones.
Let's get a little closer to the pedal here, and let's have you walk us through and get underneath the hood and what's going on here.
All right, absolutely. So what we're going to start with is one of the most go-to effects most bass players have on their board after their clean DI compressor and a little grit. A lot of bass players, especially ones that play pop, are getting into having an octave divider. So here's our clean signal. And you throw the octave in. Right, so it just follows below an octave below what you're playing. So let me get a loop going so I can show you some of the stuff this thing can do. Got our clean signal going here. So we're going to start with the octave. So you got individual controls over your octave level and your clean level. One of my favorite things that we did was, I'm going to turn the clean down so we're just listening to the octave version. There's 3 different voices for the octave on this. There's this one. So you have a little more of like a growly, mid-focused character. And then this one is more of like closer to an OC2, has kind of like a Moog, very full, mid-rangey 70s kind of thing. And that's like the pure sub, the one that takes up like the most space in the mix. So you've also got controls, let's go back to this sort of Moogy sound. You've got controls over the octave filter itself, so if you want to pull a little bit of that out, it becomes a little more anonymous, but you just want like this sort of sense of something way down in the depths, and you can pull it back and get a little more action going. You've got individual, bring some of your clean level back in. Some of the articulation stuff comes back in. And then on the other side, you have a perfectly straightforward drive pedal with access to all of the research that Darkglass has done over the year. Almost everything they make has a drive in it or on it. You have a range of different drive tones to pull from. Here's like a distortion. It's a little fuzzier as you push it this way. It's kind of based on the sort of the same approach as the Alpha Omega circuit. And when you combine them, you have this like this kind of roaring thing you have going on. It's a lot of fun to listen to. So broadly speaking, the pedal breaks down to the octave controls being on the right and the drive kind of on the left. So when we're looking at just the octave, you have an individual control for the octave signal, just the sub, as well as the clean level. This knob here controls everything that has to do with the character of the octave. You can press the knobs to sort of swap between the three voices that you have access to. And over here on the level control, you have one line and two lines. That is the toggle between series and parallel. In series, the octave runs right into the drive, and in parallel, the sub does not run to the drive, so it stays clean throughout the entire pedal. Over here on the drive side, you have your sort of usual controls for blend, drive, the overall tone of the distortion. But the secret of the drive side is the drive mod knob, which can let you blend from kind of a pure sparkly distortion down here to a broader, kind of rowdier fuzz all the way here, and then everything on the in between on a continuum. This knob also will let you control the octave filter, which is to say it pulls out some of the higher frequencies, the stuff that will give the octave voicing more of their character. So if you like the Moog style octave voice, but you want to tame the character a little bit, you can pull out high-end information, and at some of its lower settings, it's just kind of this ominous, sort of general, almost subconscious awareness of a lot of low-end frequencies. So we want to just add some impact to your sound, you can, but the further you turn this up, and this interplays really interestingly with the octave level, it can make it more present in your mix. When you're in parallel with the drive and octave both running, you have three signals running all together. You have your drive, you have your clean, and you have your octave. So in this corner, it essentially functions like a 3-channel mixer. So that's impressive. That's kind of the approach, is you can be a little bit fussy with it. Most bass players I know who love the sound of like an octave, you do a lot of shopping, because each pedal has its own approach, and they've got strong points and weak points like anything else. There's three pretty iconic, pretty distinct ones in this that you can mold to your play style, your technique approach, the genre that you're in. So if you want to do, like, there's a sound there that works great if you're doing like Parliament Funkadelic stuff, has kind of like an open filter on it. There's one that's like the most ominous one, and there's one that's like not as subby, but it has a nice growl, almost like an MXR with the mid-shift button on.
The thing that I'm noticing here with you is that it's nice because a lot of bass players will have an octave pedal and a distortion, and then you're kind of guessing how they'll interact. Let's say you first get an octave pedal and now you're introducing it to your rig, or vice versa. This, you're doing it together, so it's already into the sauce.
Exactly, and they're built to work together sort of specifically. And just the amount of things you can fuss over, like, I mean, you have your sort of typical drive things, your blend, your tone, your drive, like all that kind of stuff. But having this drive mod knob is huge. Like, just the same pedal isn't gonna work. Like, if you have switched back and forth between different basses, you're playing a 5-string active jazz, and you go to play a Hofner or something with flats on it, but you still want to have a drive. Something that's too bright for the Hofner might be perfect for the jazz. So you've got so many ways to choose the character of the tones that you're using. So you've got so much control over what kind of octave, how it behaves, how it fills in the mix, how it interacts with the distortion. So like you said, like if I like this octave, but I don't like the way it sounds going into this drive. So now you've got 3 different octaves and a technically nearly infinite amount of drive modulation that you can mess with to find how they work together the best.
Quickly go over the functionality in terms of like output, input, and how you can manipulate it in terms of where you're routing it, because we're hearing it through this cab, but the camera's hearing it through the XLR, so there's a lot going on the side.
There is a lot, and the thing I like about a lot of Darkglass products is if you want to pop the hood and get very fiddly, you can. You don't have to. But this has, regular ins and outs like any other pedal. One of my favorite things that it has is a dedicated out for the sub. A regular 1/4 inch out, so you can treat the sub on its own. Some of these sounds are big, man. They add a lot of voltage to the sound, and they can cause your audio engineer like a true headache. And so it's really great for recording or live applications. It can go to its own DI, have its own channel, be mixed separately from everything else when you go to like mix whatever you're playing. It is a fully functional DI as well. You do have the option with this knob to choose whether the sound coming out of this is wet or not. So you could use this to get your clean signal and run the out of this to your amp, and then your amp is getting all the drive, all the sub, all of that kind of stuff. I got a little carried away, and there's an effects loop in this that you can move around to different points in the signal chain. So you could have just the driven part of it delayed. You could have a volume pedal swell in the sub for like a side chain effect. The clean signal, you could just have a chorus just on that. So again, you could go absolutely berserk if you want to, but even as it stands, just with the owner's manual there printed on the front. It's a great drive, a great octave, that, two great tastes that taste great together.
Well, thank you so much for walking us through this pedal. It is a versatile knife now, and hopefully in a lot of people's cupboards.
Yeah. I like thinking about it as a weapon. That is kind of how it feels.
That's how my legs have been feeling. It's like I'm using all 5 senses to incorporate and feel this bass pedal. I'm talking to you about it, but I'm feeling it through my legs, and it's feeling the different grind, we'll say, that's coming through the octave.
Yeah.
Well, Amos, again, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Everyone out there, stay safe and keep watching NAMM stuff.